Hi everybody. I guess this is as good as a time as any to do part 2 of the Arvika Series 7000, I believe, bike rack. Um, it's great so far. Two trips. We've done 2 trips so far. About 100 miles on the second one and about 500 miles on the first trip each way. So, the rack probably got, I don't know, let's say 1,200 miles driving with this rack about, or maybe a little bit less than that. Bike rack is great. It holds 3 bikes. I don't have the third bike here, and I will tell you the reason in a minute. Bike rack holds really well. It actually comes with these straps, which I think I mentioned before. The setup is fantastic. It stays, pretty decent distance from the tongue or from the cap of the truck, from the front cap. I did raise it quite a bit. I had it closer to the propane tanks. I raised it because I thought I could bypass my main issue with the rack, which is not a rack problem. I guess this is something that I could solve by doing other things. But essentially what happens is, if you look at the way that this is set up right now, I'm actually pretty decently jackknifed in there, and it comes really close. I mean, it doesn't come that close. If I were to have the third gutter here, it'd probably be about yay distance from the truck, which is like less than a foot, which makes me extremely uncomfortable. And the mirrors don't help at all. It's just, it doesn't do it. It doesn't help. It's just a lot of stress when you're kind of backing up and setting up and things like that. So the way that we park at home, I actually take off the distribution bars because I have to do a 90-degree turn to, I gotta back in and do a 90-degree turn, and the street's not that narrow. It's not really a 2-lane road. It's a county road. So that's the only complaint I would have about it. I oftentimes, and when you're setting up on campgrounds and things like that, you have to jackknife quite a bit. You have to make really tight turns. So if I were to have a complaint about the rack, and this is not a complaint about the rack itself, it's just the setup. Currently I am using an equalizer E4 hitch. I'm looking at some point at changing this for probably a way safe or something like that, which gives you about, I don't know, I think it's about 4 or 6 inches or something like that. Wandering Weekends did a great series of reviews. If you haven't seen those, I recommend checking them out. Wandering Weekends here on YouTube. They found that the way safe, it's kind of got like the best of all the worlds, right? You can open your tailgate, which I can't do right now with this setup. Let's see, I don't know how messy this is back here, but yeah, if you do this, it'll actually touch there. So I cannot open the tailgate as is. It's been a main issue since we've had the truck, and since the older truck actually. But that's just distance of the shank to the ball. And the bike rack kind of makes it worse, and it's just kind of backing up and things like that. It adds a little bit of stress. Now I did today, typically what I've been doing is I've been removing the front bike. I did that on our first trip when we got there to the campground, because I had to do pretty tight turns to get in, and then on the way back I did it when we got home. But the problem is, when you go to gas stations and things like that, this is a gas truck, it's not a diesel. I haven't mentioned this before if you've seen any of the other videos. So I have to get into some places that are, not the most comfortable. I don't have, if I had diesel lanes, then that wouldn't be an issue. But I get into some places that are pretty uncomfortable, and it just adds to the stress. So what I've been doing is I have a third gutter, but I removed it for this trip because it was just a weekend. And I figured, we can get by with just 2 bikes, right? One for the kids and my wife's bike. We don't need all of them. And then if I have to use a bike, I can use hers. It's not that big of a deal. So for longer trips, I'll be taking all the bikes. I still love that I have the ability to do so without the back of the truck being crowded by a bunch of stuff back there. I still have one bike, one a bike for a 4-year-old, right? So I have a 16-inch bike back there. But yeah, other than that, the bike rack holds well. It's really fantastic. It's really sturdy. When you're driving back there, you see the bike's kind of shaking a bit and stuff like that, but it's got a grab handle on the top here where it grabs the bikes, and then you put straps at the bottom. I actually put a ratchet strap the first time because we were going pretty long distance I wanted to make sure that if one of these things loosened up a little bit, that it wasn't going to be an issue. The last thing I want is a bike going up the side of the road, hitting somebody else, or going under the trailer, or hitting the truck or something like that. So for longer trips, I'll do that. I think that covers it. I just wanted to do a quick check and kind of showcase, now that the truck is in this position, kind of showcase what this is like, and sort of discuss. It doesn't hit the truck. I don't think it's hit the truck at any point in time. I can't see any marks. So if you are going to do something like this on an A-frame trailer and are thinking about getting one of these bike racks, what I would recommend is go check what hitch alternatives you have that make that distance between the ball and the shank receiver a little longer. So the Way Safe Heavy Duty is one that comes to mind. Also, if you have a ProPride, it shouldn't be an issue. The ProPride, the ProPride adds, the ProPride and the Hensley probably add, I don't know, 10 to 12 inches a distance between, from a regular hitch, just because they had a little setup that extends the trailer there. So that should be a great setup if you're going to do that, if you have $4,000 to spend on one of those. Yeah, I think that covers it. Thank you for tuning in, and let me know if you have any comments or questions. And some people had asked for a version 2, saying, hey, I'd like to know how it goes in a few trips. So this is it. If you have any questions, comments, leave me a comment below, and I'll try to get those as fast as I can. Thank you for tuning in.